Hello, everybody. It is the Singapore Grand Prix review from myself and Wajid, who's live in Rome at the moment. See, I can't even speak. Fuck it. Maybe we'll try again. Hello, everybody. As you know, Ted Kravitz made his famous little mistake the other day, so that is why that's happened. But it is certainly a situation that we'll be bringing up today. This stream isn't monetized, so we're okay. We can say that. As we said before, we were going to bring it live from Rome. That's why you can see he is outside. It's not just where he lives, and that's why you can hear the traffic in the background. But it is a Wajid.
If it's bad, I'm good. If it is bad, I can go inside. That's not an issue. So
no, it's absolutely fine from me. So I'm sure people will say if it is an issue.
Yeah, no worries. No, live from sunny Rome. Hi, hello. Hello.
So we've got live from my house, live from Rome, and Nick here from Birmingham. I don't know who's got the best one.
It's a toughie.
I wouldn't mind being in Rome right now. Great, a good Grand Prix, shall we say? I wouldn't say it was terrible. Really interesting Grand Prix throughout the race. But we'll start off, obviously, with the race results. So if you haven't seen the race, why are you watching a preview?
A review show.
I'm doing a Ted Kravitz completely here, aren't I? Anyway, while you're watching a review show, here's the results. Yes, it was complete and utter domination by Lando Norris, and it didn't look like that in practice. He looked quick, but it didn't look like he was going to be disappearing off into the distance. Wajid, before you ask me, have we still not got a championship challenge?
No, still over.
Really?
Yeah. So we will be doing during the new winter break they now have. There will be another video coming out shortly by Dave and I, where we'll be doing our title predictions towards the end of the season. But no, like the funniest thing about this weekend for me was Andreas Seidel crying that Red Bull allowed Red Bull have two teams and Danny Ricciardo can set the fastest lap and it's not fair. Shut up. No one. What?
We've been crying about that for years, though, and I actually do think that is a topic for discussion, not because of just this weekend, but there is a different discussion to be had about that.
No one brought up when it was the Mercedes versus the Red Bull. No one brought up when it was Red Bull. Seidel piss. Like, don't cry. Go cry somewhere else, you bitch. Danny Rick took the fastest lap out. It's not piss off. Grow up. Yeah, the game's the game. If it bothers them that much, since it's no longer a Formula series, it's turning into a GT series where if you can own your own team and stuff like that, buy another team. make McLaren 2 electric. Make McLaren 2 electric boogaloo. Like they didn't want teams like Andretti and stuff like that in there. So this is what you get. Deal with it.
I do agree with that. But I think there is another sort of kind of outside conversation about whether at the top level of the sport, should the drivers be ready for Formula One and not need to be in a junior team as such. That's the way I look at it, rather than, because they always say RB is about bringing the drivers through, making sure they're ready, making sure they can compete. And it's like, if you're not ready, why are you in Formula One?
Absolutely, but on the flip side, I think both you and I have spoken about that. The 1 point for fastest lap was a pretty stupid rule to begin with
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
because because now it's affecting the McLarens and a potential new world championship title contender, and now all of a sudden, oh well, do we need a point for fast lap? It's been there for years. Um no one's had an issue. No one's had an issue with it now. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been there. It shouldn't have even been there in the first place. So here we go. I do like I said, to chat, Dave. If the noise does get worse, I can go inside. So
Yeah, I haven't noticed it yet, but chat will let us know if you start getting muffled. Mercedes were still fighting with people in the dominance. Yeah, it is hard to sort of look at it that way. But anyway, as I say, I feel like the fastest lap might be a different conversation if we get to the end of the season.
So,
We've
yeah.
got 1 point. Lando, this weekend. I mean, I, again, watched the Grand Prix with 2 Australians. They were very much quieter this week than they were last week.
funny
Why.
that.
But Lando, absolutely dominant and almost, and would have, should we say, unless except for he backed off, could have done a Max Verstappen and pitted, put the soft tyres on and gone for fastest lap if they felt it was that important. So at this stage of the season, I don't think that 1 point is the be all and end all of everything.
No, I mean you say that by every point, Matt. For McLaren, for Lando, every point counts. So given the way he sort of pulled away, because there was a radio message where they said how fast you're going. Yeah, about a 5 or 6, and then everyone on the commentary team, the teams around, no one thought Lando could keep up the pace he did, and he just utterly drove away. So I'll be honest, like I said, every point does matter for the McLaren team at this moment in time in regards to the World Championship. The constructors, I think, is over because that car is just that car and them 2 drivers are just so strong. He should have gone for it, to be honest.
Well, I'm looking back. The last time Red Bull outscored McLaren was in Spain, and that was by 4 points. So doing a proper Owen Wilson, it was one in Spain.
And even the Spanish Grand Prix, that was because Lando got that terrible start off the line that put him behind George Russell, wasn't it? That allowed Max to drive away. Just a comment from Nick here. I don't mind the rule of the fastest lap point, as it gives people like Daniel a chance to get an extra point. Maybe a readjustment of it could be done, like top 3 can't get the point. So the thing is, Nick, I understand what you're saying, but Ricardo is down in 18th and he doesn't get a point because you need to be in the top 10 to get a point for your fastest lap.
It's a horrible sort of mix of rules. I kind of get it, but I think if you're going to do it, keep it simple. There's the fastest lap, you take it.
I think the issue is because of where Danny Rick was, the team that did it, and the sole reason it was done for. That's why there's a bit more scrutiny in terms of the sort of fastest lap qualifying run that Danny Rick did, rather than the lap rather than the point itself.
I do think a lot of it was to do with the story around Danny Rick, which we'll obviously get into later in the podcast. But in terms of the constructors, McLaren haven't scored less than 20 points since Japan, and Red Bull haven't scored more than 30 points since USA. That'd be Miami.
USA 1. You have to specify USA 1.
So Miami. So it's 40. It's the constructors is gone, literally just gone. in terms of Red Bull, in terms of this weekend, though, Norris dominated, pulled away, almost faultless. We won't say it was faultless. You know, he almost did wall it at one point, and in the podcast at the end before the podium, they all went, "Ooh, that was a little bit too close." And I don't think Lando realised how close he was to throwing that in the wall. But he was. Piastri was thereabouts, and if anything with McLaren, this weekend says to you, you have to back Lando now. There's no choice in it because the championship points, as it stands, is Lando's on 279. Oscar is only on 237.
So it's 40. It's 42 points. It's essentially two races.
The way you have to look at it is to win the championship. Oscar's about 90 points behind Max. I think it's 94 or something. Now, for him to go and win the title, Max Verstappen has to score less than 40 points or 50 points for the rest of the season. That isn't going to happen. You know, if he wins a race, he's got half of it. So I think it's pretty much game on for Norris, and Piastri just has to play the team game. I've got a feeling that he got given till now because he was close enough to Lando in points. What was he, about 20 points back at the start of this sort of period of races? And I wonder if he got given this. Obviously, Lando dominated in Zandvoort. Then we went to Italy, where it was Ferrari got the one over and Piastri was quicker. Then in Azerbaijan, Piastri was quicker. Then in Singapore, Lando's dominated. So it's sort of 2-2. The gap actually increased in Lando's favour. I think they said, look, we've got a 3-week gap coming up. Let's get to there. Then let's race. And ask Piastri. You know, Piastri hasn't closed on Lando by then. It's championship over.
So just for context quickly, between now and the end of the season, because there's 6 races left, Oscar has to outscore Max by 15. It says 15.3. It's essentially 16 points a race. Charles has to outscore by 15 points a race. We do have, I think, 2 sprint Grand Prix coming up. So
yeah, we do, but we know how strong the man is on sprints. Max is on sprints. He's very strong on sprint races. I think he's the highest scorer ever in sprint races. So
no, he will be the highest scorer ever, to be honest.
Even back in 2021, he was ridiculously quick in it. So he even outperformed Lewis most of the time. So it's at the end of the day, it is a situation where Lando does still need a little bit of help, maybe, and Oscar is there to give it. He's got the pace. And this weekend shows, we turned up at a circuit where McLaren proved to be dominant with Norris, and Piastri qualified at 5th. If this was Verstappen dominating a race like that, and we're talking about Perez, 5th wouldn't be good enough. So, Oscar, you've got to be more consistent. What?
Just you saying Oscar's got to be more consistent. He's finished as he's put it 3rd.
Yeah. Finishing 3rd is brilliant, right? That's where he's got to get to. But what I'm saying is, he's the one who wants sprints gone, but that's where he's going to win the championship if he's going to win it. But in terms of Oscar, the level that Mark Webber, McLaren have set Oscar this season, I know it's his 2nd season, but you've got to be saying you need to have more performances like Monza. Something else we can just very quickly say, wins from pole for Lando Norris is up to 33%.
Oh dear.
And wins leading the first lap from pole position. He's done it. The monkey is off his back. He has finally led a first lap from pole position. So
he's now got more wins than George Russell, hasn't he?
What? Lando, yeah.
3 versus 2.
He's got more wins than George Russell now, which is not exactly something to write home about, but it does put him one win behind Heinz-Hal Frentzen.
Something else not to write home about.
Yeah, Frentzen was not too could have won the title in '99.
Could have, would have, didn't.
Yeah, I'll keep playing that one until we go home. But yeah, so McLaren utterly dominant. Probably upset that we're not going straight on to the next race.
Yeah, probably.
It's going to be a big thing because you've got 3 races, a week gap, 3 races. So it's going to be full on for that. Whoever gets the momentum in Kota is going to carry that all the way through to the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. As someone sort of joked in the comments, hopefully McLaren don't dominate, so it becomes very boring between now and the end of the season. But fair play to Lando. He did exactly what he needed to do. He drove pretty much, like you said, faultlessly. It was essentially a lights to flag sort of finish. Never looked like he was going to get challenged. Never looked like anyone was close by. And to be honest, the only thing that's was surprised that there's no safety cars in Singapore.
Yeah, there wasn't. No safety cars at all. It is 20th of October, not some weird comment. Beatster, but if you're going to hit walls, you do it that way where you brush against them. Oscar hit his fair share of them over the weekend and bent some wheels as well. So did Colapinto. I can't believe how many times Colapinto hit the wall and got away with it. So next up, we'll move on from McLaren because the Papaya are ruling the roost. And we'll move on to the damage limitation, which is who's only challenged by walls. So yeah, that's a fair point. Damage limitation at Red Bull. Now, this isn't just on the track, it is off the track as well. First up, we'll talk about Max's performance. I think this is the first. Everybody just take a seat, because I think me and Wajid are going to pretty much praise Max Verstappen here without criticism. He got his head down, he did his job, and he come home second when, he could have been third. He could have even been fourth if Charles Leclerc hadn't had his time taken away in qualifying. Max did what he needed to do this weekend because he needed to be there to try and win if he could.
And he did exactly what he had to do. He it's like I said, total damage limitation for a car that, let's be honest, when they rocked up to Singapore on Friday and even qualifying on Saturday, up until Max put the lap, you were like, So fair play, Max. He has to finish second in every single race this season to win the world championship. It is still strongly in Max's hands, as we've said many times in the show. If the teams showed up before they decided to give Red Bull a six race head start, then there might be a title race. But I think Max himself has to focus on what's going on the track and leave the FIA crap with Bin Suleiman, who's just a total knobhead, to be perfectly honest.
We'll definitely get onto the
just a total knobhead and a racist, to be perfectly honest. So fair play, Max. Checo, I mean, welcome back. This is the Checo I know and love. You are only in the seat because of the Mexican Grand Prix. That is it.
Sorry, go on.
He's only in the seat because the Mexican Grand Prix is when it is. But you're not going to win it, so I don't even know why you're here. So, but yeah, thanks for showing up. I guess driving the car, whatever.
In terms of Max Verstappen, I think he could have very easily got frustrated and lobbed it in the wall, but he knew coming second was the best he could hope for. I do say one thing, which I am shocked. I'm going back slightly to McLaren. I just don't get Lewis Hamilton, 18 laps on the soft tyres with a full tank of fuel. Yet McLaren at the end of the race didn't think Oscar could do 22 laps on an empty car on soft tyres. I don't get it because Tsunoda did it.
But I don't think they trust Oscar's tyre preservation. And I think that's where it comes down to, because Oscar chooses tires like something. Oscar chooses tires like a teething baby choose a chew toy type, like just goes through it. So I just think they didn't trust Oscar on the stuff. That's the honest to God truth.
Do you think maybe there's also the idea that Lando's got fastest lap, we don't want to give it to Oscar?
I think that crossed their mind, but look how that played out in the end.
Well, yeah, exactly. Duncan's right as well. If he burnt through softs to catch Max, he wouldn't have any left to overtake. Yes, but he would have put the pressure on Max. He would have put the pressure on Max. Whereas what it seemed like was weird in terms of Oscar is he never really caught Max. He was 17 seconds behind.
No, he was. He was like 25 at one point, so he did catch a bit.
Yeah, he caught a little bit, but it wasn't like the amount of life he had in his tyres compared to Max. He should have been there. And again, a little bit of a criticism there. Colapinto underperformed. Okay, Fireface. Thank you. But yeah, no, I just think maybe I wanted to see a little bit more from Oscar, a bit more fight this weekend, and I don't think we saw it. You know, he was very patient behind the few, and I just think he could have pushed Max out a little bit harder, personally, because we saw such dominance in that car. That's all. But going back to Red Bull, Max, yes, damage limitation done there in terms of the result. Sergio Perez lapped by Lando Norris, beaten, couldn't pass.
Wasn't he lapped by his teammate as well?
Possibly, but that's sort of a given one. Once the blue flags start coming out, but
yeah, I guess so.
Couldn't get past Alonso. He couldn't get past Hulkenberg. He finished behind all of the top 8. He was lucky to get a point. He had Colapinto all over the back of him at one point, and Colapinto was really struggling with his fitness, considering he's not done one of these races before. Yes, thank you, Pieface. We will not be discussing Fulham. It's just a general situation that let's take, when was the last time Sergio Perez scored double figures? Miami. And that was a weekend with a sprint race. So it's just not good enough. It simply isn't. He's 11 points behind George Russell, who we've got to remember got disqualified from a victory. So if that victory was still there, he'd be about 30 points behind Lewis Hamilton. It's just not good enough. And I honestly think, we'll get on to Daniel himself near the end of the podcast in terms of, obviously this may be his last Grand Prix.
It is his last Grand Prix.
I think that stinks if it is. It's a horrible way to try and deal with it by Red Bull. But I just don't think it is. I think if the next 2 races go like this for Sergio Perez, you've got Daniel Ricciardo in the car for the last 3 Grand Prix.
He has not been good enough since 2022.
I'm not saying he's been good enough, but
no.
What have you got to lose?
No. Hang on. Tranquilo. Hang on. He's not been good enough in the car since 2022, when that car was the best part of a second ahead. Last year was the most dominant car, arguably in the history of the sport. Wasn't good enough then. He was struggling to finish second at times. So, where do you expect someone in the 3rd or 4th fastest car who's been saying, I told you also. What's that? What's that? I mean, what on God's green earth do you possibly expect if a man who has not been good enough for 2 years is now performing at the level of the cars? Max Verstappen, they might sort of push the car in his direction, but when and he can extract the best out of the car. What do you expect? What do you expect Checo to do?
Yes, okay, Lee. Thank you for that grip fuel. No, that was going to happen until Canada when that email come out, and it's amazing how things have suddenly started to twist around again. We'll get onto Mercedes strategy in a minute, but Sergio Perez, I think, is on borrowed time, and that is why Daniel Ricciardo is not being announced as retiring, but is being kept in the Red Bull driver pool. If you're getting rid of him, why are you keeping him in the pool? It makes no sense unless you've got to keep your options open.
Okay, and where I disagree is Red Bull's sales percentages across Latin America since Checo's been in the car have gone through the. But that's what, hang on, you can do that all you like. That's what they are at the end of the day. They're a race team second.
Yes.
They're a canned energy drink first. Now, they're not going to affect. They're not going to affect sales. They're not going to affect the sales. He will be in that car next. He will be in that car next year. They will, and then Red Bull will judge how good Lawson is in 2025 to then potentially push him up in 2026.
Okay. You're on about sales. Yes, South American sales, but who is going to sell you more merchandise around the world? Daniel Ricciardo or Sergio Perez? It's going to be Daniel Ricciardo.
Who has the biggest sponsorships, Daniel Ricciardo or Checo Perez?
Well, it depends how.
No. Simple question.
Well, I don't know because I don't actually know what Daniel could bring in. We just know Sergio because he did come in with a, it's quite clear when Carlos Slim. Is it Carlos Slim?
Carlos Slim, yeah, correct.
Is bringing the money in. It's so known. But I honestly think, and I'm glad everybody's joining in the chat on this on whether who's going to bring in more money. We also saw, yes, Christian Horner having some weird idea that it'd be stupid not to approach George Russell. George Russell will be, personally, I think he's going to be on his toes next year in terms of, would love Pedro. Pedro was actually a handy little driver by the end of his career as well.
Unfortunately, the only thing I remember him is smash it in the wall and his Sauber ending up in a ball of fire on the track somewhere. That's the only two things I remember about good old Pedro.
Oh, that was his Ligier in Argentina and Ball of Fire and rolling his car at Nürburgring, I think it was.
Yeah.
But no, I think George has an issue next season. It is a shootout between Kimi and George, and we'll find out what George is really made of next season. I know that sounds weird when he's been next to Lewis Hamilton, but he has to dominate next year. He hasn't got a choice. And it's almost like dominating against Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is Ferrari's boy. And when the next Ferrari one comes through, Sebastian Behrman, that's his brother. When Ollie Behrman comes through, he's next Ferrari one. It's the same with Mercedes. Kimi is their boy, and they're going to want to really push him forward. Just to go through a few of the chats, Daniel Ricciardo is not the most popular Aussie anymore. It's fair, but then it's all about success, that one. Because Oscar is pretty much sort of flat-faced in terms of what he can do.
Flat face is crazy.
I don't know. I was trying to think how to put it. Oscar's just straight-faced.
Flat face is crazy.
If you took Oscar to the most funniest concert comedian ever, I still think it'd be difficult to get a laugh out of him. Kimi will be, what's that one? Kimi will give him a race for his money next season, and George will, yes, that's what I can see happening. But anyway, that's damage limitation, a huge thing for Red Bull, and we'll try over the next 2 or 3 weeks So we've got a bit of time. Maybe we'll have a look at the Red Bull driver pool and what the situation is there. And again, whether RB should be a junior team or its own independent situation. But moving on, we had a lot of surprises this weekend. Not only did Nico Hülkenberg pop it 6th on the grid, he come home in a very strong 9th in the end, holding off Sergio Perez. I think Nico was pretty much bored of looking at his wing mirrors throughout it, but has come in on really strong. Now only a few points off, 3 points off RB in the Constructors' Championship. And there's a realistic prospect of Haas finishing 6th in this year's championship. Also, in terms of results, we had, dare I say, a very strong drive by Fernando Alonso to get 8th place out of the car, which, isn't at its best right now. And in the Drivers' Championship, that puts Nico Hülkenberg, who is Sauber bound. I'm not sure how much he's going to enjoy that right now, but it puts him into the top 10 of the championship.
Fair play, Nico. Fair play, Nico. Like what a sort of a comeback drive since he's been in the car. He's been consistent. He's been dragging results from the car. And did he qualify? He qualified 6th, I believe. Yeah. So tremendous drive. Feels like Haas are letting go of someone who's found a second lease of life all of a sudden. To be perfectly honest, in terms of Nico Hülkenberg, which
and bringing in somebody who doesn't seem to have any life whatsoever, which is Esteban Ocon.
I mean, he's just happy to be there and be French. To be honest, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why Hülkenberg's gone. The project's, it's the last big payday for him, if nothing else. But Hülkenberg and Behrman would have been quite a handy partnership in that Haas next year.
Oh yeah, it would have been definitely up there with the strongest midfield partnerships on the grid. Obviously, not touching Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, because that's just the strongest driver pairing on the grid. Future world champion and Lance Stroll with Adrian Newey there. He's right. He's right. He got one win in Hungary.
Yeah, and held off Sebastian Vettel in an illegal car.
Exactly. So
I
mean,
go on. Continue.
No, I think the thing is the sort of because there's so much focus on like the top 4 teams now. There's like a distinct breakaway. So I know you say surprise runners, but when you start, to me, a surprise runner is, like a Haas finishing. But like a fifth place is surprising because you don't expect them in 5th place anymore. Finishing best of the rest is just all right, cool sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I do get you on that one, and it is something we I maybe need to rename. Another good performance by Franco Colapinto, though, which is certainly going to start asking questions at not as Haas. Well, it's asking questions at Williams, but now we've got to start asking questions of Sauber, because you've got Hülkenberg already in there as your sort of experienced driver. There's big rumours that Bottas has already signed a 1-year deal for him, whether that stays or not. And you've got Bortoleto and Colapinto. And I would almost say Colapinto is jumping ahead of Bortoleto because he's now proven himself. And what a send at turn 1. What a send.
Oh, no, absolutely. It doesn't matter how much you annoy Alex Albon. You got to do what you got to do. Albon's got his contract with Williams next year. Colapinto is still trying to prove I'm good enough. And I mean, need I say, like, the sort of the wrong F2 drivers are the ones that have been given the hype. Colapinto, totally unspoken about before. No one. He's only in there because I believe he's a Williams junior driver and they literally had no options. But he's really making a name for himself. Like he's really put himself out on the market, and maybe it's different when you have sort of it's high risk, not even high risk, high reward. Like you're essentially driving, you're essentially sort of driving without any sort of punishment, aren't you? Because you don't have a drive lined up next season. So as long as you don't bin it in the wall, just do whatever the hell you need to do and stand yourself out there. So like to have essentially half a season of a free hit for Colapinto, it's the best case scenario, and no one's expecting much of the Williams. So whatever the hell he does apart from binning it in the wall, like it's a massive plus. It does sort of raise eyebrows as to why they kept Logan Sargent in the car, though.
Yeah, I mean, they did bring a bit of an upgrade around Zandvoort, I think Val said, and that was the first race with it. So whether Logan had a clear chance with the current configuration of car, different kettle of fish, but it was definitely time for a change. I'm just having a look now. Colapinto's average finish over his 3 races now is 10th, and he's got an average grid position of basically 12.5. Obviously missed his grid slot somewhere to get the 0.5, but a stunning start to his career. Whether we'll be fortunate to see him any more in Formula One after the end of the season, we'll have to wait to see. I would be thinking people are stupid not to at least have him as a reserve driver. So we'll see about that. And actually, if Colapinto had scored this weekend, he would have moved ahead of Esteban Ocon in the championship. So that says a lot in terms of we're looking at a championship. Obviously, an increased championship. We haven't got 20 drivers; we've got more. Bottom of that championship is Valtteri Bottas, and he's the man looking at the 1-year deal.
It's just not fair sometimes, is it?
Life is, as I say, sitting here in rainy Britain and you're sitting in sunny Rome.
Work hard,
is this
kids.
the end? Yeah, always work hard. I never did. Is this the end? And I've got to say, sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it. And he did on the final lap. A weird pit stop near the end. I think that was to find him some space. I think that was the general idea of that one. But Daniel Ricciardo, upset near the end, emotional, sort of, looked back very clearly, was clearly ready for this. But it looks like Liam Lawson will be in the car for Kota. It's not 100% sure that he's going to be in the car for a race afterwards, which is kind of weird. But is this the end of Daniel Ricciardo in even motorsport, or do we think we're going to see him pop up elsewhere?
I don't think it's the end of him in motorsport. I do think it's the end of him at sort of high level motorsport. I think he'll do some sort of I don't want to say smaller series because that's the wrong term, but like more domestic series, maybe like super sports or something like that. But yeah, no, don't let the door hit you on the way out, mate. Thanks for showing up again. See you later. Bye.
I still think. I mean, Nick says I don't think so. I think he will get a drive. It's quite. I just think if you're Sauber, for example, now, and you're picking Ricciardo or Bottas.
I mean, they're both the same end. They're both the same end of a shit stick at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think Ricciardo's your better choice.
Do you think he wants to go back to 2018 and slap himself for going to Renault?
Possibly, but as this could be his last race, I am still, and you can clip this all you like, everybody. I still think there's a chance he will be back in a car at the race after Mexico, which is obviously Brazil.
No. Stick. No. Put it. Let's see the cojones.
Okay.
Which car is he gonna be in?
It's not that kind of stream. I think there's a good chance he will be. Well, it depends how Liam performs.
No.
No, hang on. Let me fill this all in. If Liam,
It's not that. It's not that type of stream.
I'm going to say Ricardo will be back at Brazil, and how about we bet one piece of iRacing content on that? We'll speak about that after, Dunk. I just think he is too loved in the Red Bull camp. I think if we have, wow. I think if Perez, and there's a lot of ifs in this, so bear with me. If Perez continues to perform as he does for the next two races, and we don't see the Baku Perez, we see the Singapore Perez, we can have Perez dropped after Mexico. That would be his final Grand Prix. Then you'd have, depending how Liam performs in the RB. So if he suddenly comes in and obliterates Yuki, he gets a Red Bull seat for the rest of the season, and Daniel goes to RB.
Right.
And if Liam doesn't perform, Red Bull take Daniel, and Liam stays at RB till the rest of the season. Why else would you keep Daniel Ricciardo in the driver pool?
Because because for marketing purposes, the same reason.
You cannot market a driver who's not seen.
They did it all last year when he was reserve driver.
Yes, but he was reserve driver and he was there in front of them all. Even if he's got a contract, as some people are saying, I just don't see. If you're sacking him due to underperformance, it'll be in the contract.
But we don't know. But we only know what's stipulated in Checo Perez's new contract because of the if you're 100 points behind Max, we can cut you anytime thing. That's the only reason we know the Checo. We know the Checo tab.
And how many points is Checo behind Max?
Yeah, but hang on. Hang on. If Red Bull was ballsy as they said they are, and they weren't ass-kissing the FIA saying, please, sir, sorry for offending you, sir. When all the reports came out of summer, right, Danny Rick's gone and hugged Christian Horner, and he was flying on Max's private jet, and they were discussing how they were discussing their next marketing plans and YouTube video and stuff like that. What happened? When push came to shove, they didn't have the balls, and that's what it comes down to. That senile old man, Helmut Marko, is all this, all right? But when it comes to making an actual big decision and big cuts, he can't do it.
I honestly, I just can't see Sergio keeping his seat to the end of the season if he's going to dribble along getting a point or two per race. And that's why you do the Mexican Grand Prix first. Let him have his home race. Let him have what could be a race-winning car for Mexico. And if he does, we go back to Mexico last year. He could have won that race. We decided to do some stupid free-wide dive bomb around the outside of everybody and take himself out at the first corner. So I think 100% that could happen. Like more than 50%, I'm sure.
So, Mr. Slim is the major sponsor of Checo Perez. You are not gonna piss off one of the richest men in the world. You're not gonna do it. 2025 at 2025 we can have a different conversation. But as you say, if Max is in a potential title fight, this is your perspective. Obviously, I've had the same stance for months now.
Yeah.
But if Max is in a title fight, you're not gonna move someone. You're not gonna take someone out of the car who's never driven the car, doesn't know the braking and all that. And if it handles in the small window and is a diva the way they say it is, you're not gonna stay. You're not gonna put Danny Rick in the car. 2025, absolutely, it's not happening this year.
Okay, so let's take that situation. Right, get to the end of the season, Perez is in the car. You've swapped Ricardo for Lawson. Why are you going to then not keep Danny Rick warmed up, ready to replace Perez? He'll be going in cold next season again, then. And you're going to have to let him build up to speed again.
No, because you have the entire off season, don't you? Like, that's the difference. You have all of the summer to get used to the car and all that stuff. What's he gonna do if it makes no difference what you're gonna do. Put him in the car for four races and go, listen, let's hope for the best. Like, that doesn't work either.
Hey, Hail Mary worked at Williams. But
there's a massive difference between Williams and a world title fight.
Well, let's find out. We've got to, as I say, the Red Bull driver program is something we definitely do a separate video on. Now, obviously, for those who didn't realise, we didn't do predictions. We sort of ran out a bit of time. The first thing I'm going to actually say is, before we move on from Daniel Ricciardo, favourite moment of Daniel Ricciardo. If this is the last Grand Prix we're going to see him, what's your moment? Why will you remember Daniel as an F1 driver?
The redemption at Monaco. He got robbed the year before, 2 years before, when he should have, when Red Bull threw it away. There was no need for him to pit at that time. They weren't ready. So the entire redemption story, when the engine went, probably the only racetrack where you can lose the MGUH and still have sort of just enough to sort of drive and keep the car behind you. And Seb was on him the entire race from the pit stop. But yeah, at least he got his win in Monaco, which he should have had the year 2 years before. So probably that one for me.
For me, it's 2014. Not his first win, just that whole season where he came in and absolutely dominated Sebastian Vettel. And also I'm going to remember the McLaren win at Monza, where he suddenly found pace for one weekend. I don't know what happened there. It's almost Michael Andretti like when he was at McLaren, turned up at Monza, got a podium, left for IndyCar. Beatster, I know you're Aussie, but his first win wasn't Hungary. It was Canada. But yeah, he took his chances, almost like Alonso, took his chances on moves. It didn't quite work.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but jumping to McLaren from Renault was the right move. It was. It just, for whatever reason, it was just bad timing. Who knows? But I don't know about that one, King Pie Face. That is something which I don't really know what happened, but that sounds like a very good night out. Anyway, we didn't do any predictions, so we're obviously going to be moving on from the predictions. So this is the end of the podcast as well, I think. No predictions out there. The only predictions I'm going to send to you is it's exactly the same as it's been all season. I think there's a championship hunt on. Wajid doesn't. Wajid does not. Yeah, it's going to be one of them. But we'll roll on as the season goes on. If you've got any comments, if you're on YouTube, obviously pop them underneath. If you're on Twitch, then obviously the VOD is there. Just having a look. Yes, it is a shorter podcast. We've actually kept it within an hour, but we haven't had predictions and not a lot happened in the race, to be fair. Apart from a dragon in practice setting the fastest final sector time. Dunk, one DNF from Max and it's on. Yeah, I can see that. Lee, my prediction, anything David said will happen doesn't. Fair enough. That is a very safe bet. So, Wajid, thank you for joining us from what looks like sunny Rome. At least it's not pissing it down anyway.
Not just yet. It is predicted to rain later today, so.
Okay, so he wants to go and get his pizza and pasta and go say hello to the FAA in Italy. You say, wow, are we going there? We start streaming Duncathlon. Yeah, I'm not sure that's happening because I do have to go and have some therapy today, and that's not just due to my opinions. Wajid, thank you for joining us while you've been out there sunning yourself.
Not that I need it with my skin tone, but yeah, thanks.
I'm not.
We're not monetized, already.
Well, I did swear in the first 10 seconds, so it was okay. For anybody else who is, when are you back?
Thursday.
So we'll be able to look into the situation of what we do next in terms of streams, but there will be some streams while you're away without hacksawing in the background.
Joe, I'm gonna shoot now, so I'll let you sort of sign out. Chat, it's been lovely, Dave. I will message you when I land back on Thursday.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
That's Wajid. So we will go to that camera view and just see us. There goes Wajid. So yeah, there we go. That's the preview. We've got to now find, because we've got 9 viewers. Hello, everybody. Let me find somebody who is who's live, who we can go to, who's doing what. Because we may as well use this raid while we're at it, and bring up somebody. If there's any suggestions, feel free to let me know. I will. We've got loads of comments coming in. RSR Racing 91. We only stuck around for some racing. Record views for you, Dave, and you're leaving. Very funny. Reese, Meow, Sparky. Reese. Who's Reese? I don't know Reese, do I? Let's have a look. What's Reese doing? Do we know Reese? Reese Saunders. Oh, he's a Wolves fan. Ooh, that's a difficult one. For you, he does a lot of FF, does he? I've never seen him before. So that shows you everything. Give me a second. Filter by category. There we go. Got Dale. If there's nobody else, we could go to Reese. You know what? Let's go raid Reese and see. We'll do that. Or yeah, it's a shame he supports Wolves. It's a bit of a downside. So what is it? RS Racing. Yeah, he's only got 1 view at the moment. So let's go and see him. He's doing some Formula 4 around Indy. I didn't know he'd gone to Indy, but we'll go raid him and we'll go and see. We'll make his day and give him a few more viewers. So thank you very much for being here. We will see you very, very soon. As soon as the raid comes through, we'll get ready to go and send it over. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you very, very shortly on the podcast here for Grid Talk Podcast. See, I'm still sending my words all over the place.